Now then, folks, I'll say now then, even though there's nobody watching yet, because you might be watching when it's not live. So I thought I'd just jump on and say now then straight away. On my way over to Beverley today to solicitors, got some contracts to sign. Actually it's a lease for a commercial property we own, so I'm going over to sign the lease so the new tenant can move in. They're planning on moving in at the weekend or tomorrow, so it's a property in Grimsby. We've got it's actually the first property I bought as a sort of professional property investor slash developer. It was a shop and uppers, as we call it. So it was a shop with offices above it, just a little terrace thing in the town centre. But at the time we had Games Workshop or Warhammer as the tenant, and that meant they were a really good tenant because they're a global company, and a commercial property. How good the tenant good, I don't mean do they behave themselves, are they seen as a good tenant, good, a big company, are they stable, are they a well-known brand, or are they, you know, just somebody who's decided they're gonna sell knitted hats or crocheting stuff, or you know what I mean, they're like one-man band type businesses who have got a high chance of failure compared to somebody like Warhammer, Games Workshop, who are a global brand, obviously got a lot of financial backing behind them, and they've got a good customer base. So that's how commercial properties are valued. So when I saw this property for sale, I thought, that's a good one to have. And the property was literally £85,000. So a cheap property. The town centre property in the middle of Grimsby, right off the main pedestrianised high street. So it seemed like a real good buy. What's more, the upstairs was an empty office, which meant I could convert that, and I converted that into a 2-bedroom department. So we ended up with an 85 grand shop and uppers with a great tenant downstairs. The tenant downstairs, the rent they paid for the mortgage, and then we upstairs we had what we converted into a 2-bedroom department, and that was then valued after that at about 150, 160. So good uplift in value, and the conversion at the time only cost us £18,000. So a great result, one of these deals that all the property trainers talk about, you know, all money out deals. So it was a good deal. And then we ran the apartment upstairs as Airbnb, so we furnished it nice and everything else, and we had, for the first 18 months, 2 years, something like that, we had about 80% occupancy, 85% occupancy. So 5 out of 7 nights there was somebody in there paying on average £85 a night. So it worked really well. We made good profit with it, but after a while the novelty started to wear off, and often we get into things in property because of what we've been told or we've heard, or we have a limited view of something. So take serviced accommodation, Airbnb type stuff. One of the reasons people get into that is because you can make good profit from it. There is, you know, there's a good margin to be made. What you don't always realise is how much work's involved. And you might think, well, yeah, but it's only when they change over. But yeah, you've got the bedding to wash and the towels, you've got ironing to do, so you've got all the laundry type stuff, you've got cleaning to do. But the biggest issue for us overall was the fact that you have to be aware and you have to be able to do those room changeovers, those tenant / guest changeovers any day of the week, because somebody can book any day of the week. And unless you want to start restricting what days people book the property on, and therefore limiting your income from it, you end up with people coming for a weekend, Friday, Saturday maybe. They come out on a Sunday, so you've got to be there Sunday because you might have new guests coming in on Monday and so on. So it ends up being really really tying. It's restrictive, and then suddenly you think, I'd like to go away for the weekend, and you end up, you can't because you're tied to this. So that was the biggest issue with us for that property. And then the commercial tenants lease, Warhammer Games Workshop, their lease ran out. So the property was becoming empty. We had 1 month's notice before we knew that they were not going to renew, because we were hoping they would renew the lease, and then close their store in Grimsby. So we ended up with an empty commercial property. Now at this stage, the and £300 a month. We then lose the rent from the shop because the shop's empty. So you think, my God, this is getting a little bit tight. Now luckily, because we're making reasonable money from upstairs, we can cover the bills, so it's not all bad. And then you realise that contracts, so they've gone on to out of contract rates, and then you start getting bills and demands for gas and electric for like £1,000, £1,500. Not only that, you have to start paying rates on the shop because you're the owner and there's no tenant. So all of a sudden, this great asset, this great little deal, goes all a bit peaked on, so it's not so fantastic. And then in the middle of this, we decided to move out of the area. So we relocated, which meant we weren't really close enough to be going to do the changeovers. And also, my wife used to do the changeovers. So our lifestyles were changing. We had and we have a plan of how our lifestyle is going to develop over the next year or two, and doing these changeovers and being tied to this property and another one we have as well just didn't work. So we end up passing it to. That's great because we don't have to deal with it, but we also don't have the feeling of security that we know what's going on with the property and what money. Sorry, we just lost signal there, so I'm not sure if it went off your end, but I was basically just saying that it's difficult when you're not managing the property. We don't know, we don't feel like we know what's happening, we don't feel like we know how well it's doing and what money's coming in until a month or so after, and this is obviously relative to the agent you use for a property. So I would recommend, if you're looking to scale, or if you're looking to scale a property business, or you're looking to yeah, we keep losing signal, I'm afraid. So yeah, I was just literally saying you can you can have property managed, you can be pretty much hands off, but it does come with its drawbacks of not understanding what's going on totally. But there you go, that's how it is. You take you make your choices, and you sort of deal with it. So but going back to where I was right at the beginning, I'm just going to the solicitors because we've now got a new tenant in the shop, or hopefully the lease will be signed tomorrow. I'm just signing the lease today, so that's good because that takes away, not only does it pay towards the cost of the mortgage on that property, it means that the utilities and the rates are no longer ours to pay. So financially, we're much better off than just the rent because of that. And commercial leases generally are full repairing and insuring leases. So the insurance that I just paid in January for the year for the property will be paid by the commercial tenant. Obviously they're paying the rent, and then the rates and the bills will be. So all in all, we'll be getting back to being a good property, and the lease we sign is a 10-year lease, so amazing. Hopefully they'll do really well. They're an established business in the town who just wanted to relocate to different premises, so touch wood, that all goes through and they do really well, and you know, we can pretty much not worry about the property too much, so all good. So I've got to go sign the lease at the solicitors in one direction, so it's about 20, I think it's 20 miles in one direction. I might be wrong, but it's away. And then I've got to go the other way, which is twice the distance in the opposite direction, to go and check the property and take condition pictures before we hand it over. Obviously that's really important because when the tenants do eventually move out, we've got to have a record of the condition of the property. So that if it's not in as good a condition, then the tenant has to carry out what we call dilapidation repairs and put it back to its current condition. So that's what I'm going to do. That's my day done then. That is my whole day taken up by doing these two jobs. I've been to view a residential property this morning, and then tomorrow going away. So part of my lifestyle change, if you like, is that I no longer work or are based in the office on a Monday and Friday. Started last week, which is a big change, quite a nerve-wracking change if I'm honest, because obviously you always want to make sure yourself that things are getting done, and I do get involved in things a little bit too much sometimes when I'm in the office, even though we've got a team of capable people to carry out everything that needs doing. But yeah, so I'm having a couple of days out of the office each week, which means tomorrow, Friday, I can get off in the morning and we're going away for a weekend in a nice hotel and to see some relatives. So that'll be nice. Bit of a jacuzzi, bit of a sauna. Who knows what else? It's a nice spa hotel, never been before. So yeah, could be quite a nice weekend away. One thing to another. Yeah, we're just saying we don't plan our life. If I keep repeating myself, I'm not sure. When it comes up on my screen it says reconnecting, I'm never sure whether or not you can actually still see me or hear me, or whether it starts again. So forgive me if I keep repeating myself. Yeah, the video I put out last night was just about how I haven't planned my life. I didn't 30 years ago sit down and say, right, I'm going to get into property, I'm going to retire early, I'm going to sky bright, sunshine, gorgeous day. And the pictures, I took a couple of pictures with my phone while I was out as the thumbnail and for the video, and it looks stunning, looks really nice. And today's the same. It was really cold this morning. It's got up to 7 degrees now, so it isn't as bad as it was, but it was really cold. In fact, I had a bit of moisture on my screen this morning as I set off, and it froze. So yeah, 1 degree this morning. so pretty chilly, but at least it's not wet and dull and dreary like it usually is. So right, I'm in Beverley, so now I need to find my solicitor's office because I to Lemingate in Beverley, so that's where I am now. So I'm just keeping my eyes open, my eyes peeled. I think they're just on the left somewhere. Yeah, just seeing their logo on the window. So I'm gonna pull in to somewhere here. Yeah, well, I thought I was. Yeah, I'm gonna say goodbye. Thank you for joining. Yeah, thank you for joining the live.